So, welcome to the first Helena City podcast. We don't have a name quite yet. This is an idea that we've been thinking about for the last 6 or 8 weeks. I think it'd be a great opportunity for us to honor employees, citizens, and kind of tell you guys a little bit about what's going on. And I'm trying to figure out who my first guest was going to be. I couldn't think of anybody better than Representative Leigh Hulsey to join me. Hello, Lee.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Good.
Let's just go with Billy since I just called
We'll
you
go. We'll
Lee.
go with Billy.
We're on a first name basis.
This is all I ever call you.
Yeah. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Busy, but great.
Good. You
How about
enjoy-
you?
Doing good. Busy. Definitely busy. I don't have to look for things to do. I
Oh, I don't
haven't
either.
for 7 or 8 months.
I
So,
believe you.
so one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the first podcast is because you've served this community for a long time. When were you first elected to city council?
2008.
2008, and you served until 2022.
That's correct.
I got you.
Yeah.
So, what all changes did you see over the years? I mean, with 12,
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be a numbers guy, by the way. And
Yeah.
thank you for that help with that simple math.
And I'm not a numbers girl.
You're
So-
quick.
We're just trade jobs today. Helena is as much. I love her today as much as I did then, if not more, honestly. I think when I came into office, one very different, I guess, mode of government in the sense that today what we have is a strong council, weak mayor form of government. And when I came into office, we were a strong mayor, weak council form of government, which really meant that the mayor sat with us and voted with us regularly. Didn't have to, but could. And often Sonny Penhill, who was the mayor at that time,
Right.
did not vote, but on occasion he did.
When
But
did that change?
it changed in the second, it changed in the 2012 election,
Okay.
and that was triggered by our population size.
Gotcha.
So when we got above 12,000 people on our census, it at that next election it triggered it. So we'd had the census in 2010, and in 2012, when the next municipal election took place, we switched from that strong mayor form of government to a strong council form of government. That obviously impacts things a little bit differently. I would say if you haven't done both and you work really great together as a team anyway, you probably wouldn't notice any differences. Um, but probably the biggest difference is that at that time, Sonny could vote with us and could vote with
Right.
us anytime he wanted to. As I've already mentioned, he really didn't do that very often, but he could.
Right.
And he could bring things to the table. He really got to sit as a part of the council with us. So that was unique and different, and that was a major change for us.
I could tell you from my position now, I'm glad that it's separated.
I am
That I'm
too.
not sitting with them and,
Yeah.
and presenting and having a vote. And really that's their job. And I feel like there's more clearly defined lines between the legislative and the executive branches.
Right. Well, and to me, that's probably the best thing about it.
Right.
There are a couple of things that are really good things about it, but to me, that is probably the best. Is it very clearly delineates the difference between the branches of government and their function. And I'm a checks and balances girl, and like through and through. So I love having a council that can only do legislative function. Spend your tax dollars, write your ordinances, or for us, like write state laws. Um, but also I don't meddle in the day to day. Like
Yeah.
I never got to participate in the day to day, and I didn't want to.
Right.
I wanted to do the legislative portion of that. But to your point now, it very clearly gives, and our city has grown so much.
Because in
You know,
'08, the population was probably what, about 10,000?
we would have been somewhere around 10 or so. They are somewhere between 8 and 10. And it probably was a little bit before that. I really cannot remember, but
Right.
we went above 10, we went above 12,000 in the 2010
Census.
census.
Okay.
So somewhere in that 4 year or the 2 year period, because the census was in 2010. I think we were a little over 10, maybe around 2008. Please don't quote me on
And
that.
now we're almost
And
24.
now we're at almost 24.
Right.
And so I think that would be the biggest change, like from the government standpoint. And then from the community standpoint, It's really like, I love people, like, if I hope if you know me, you know I
Right.
love people, and so to me, the more the merrier in the sense of, like, just our community, we've always had a great community, and that's the one thing I think we haven't lost from my perspective. Um, you know, back in 2008, like, if something happened, everyone rallied around our community to take care of those needs, and we still do that today.
I agree.
And the fact that we've grown, I mean, we've since that last census, I mean, we're essentially we doubled our population again, and I still feel like when there is a
Yeah.
problem, a fundamental issue, someone's house burns down or something tragic happens, our community just pulls together and takes care of people, and I love that about us.
Well, and I think too, Helena has a sense of pride in
Yes.
being in Helena.
Yes.
And, if you go to the beach or you go out of town, you'll see people wearing Helena
Yeah.
gear
Yeah.
proudly, like they wear a college cap.
Yeah.
And as we've grown, we haven't lost that. And watching kind of the kids come up through the school, that community, they keep the same community. I just went to a birthday party for one of our friends, and the same group of kids that were together when they were 5 and 6 years old were together in their early 20s to celebrate his birthday. And I saw that with my oldest daughter, Mackenzie, and I know you see that with your crew too.
Yep.
So,
It's really sweet. It's funny watching them, like, get married and have kids, like,
yeah,
I'm like, "How did we get here this fast?" I
exactly,
don't
exactly.
I'm still, like, 25, right?
Yeah, sure you are.
In my head.
Sure you are. Yeah. And even my nephew came into town a couple weeks ago and stayed with us for a week. And he just was amazed at the sense of community, going to different functions with us and how everybody, and of course, I'm sure you're very similar. You go out, the people in whatever room you're operating in. And I'm similar in that. So that may give him a little bit of a false sense of community, but he picked up on it. My parents have picked up on it, and visitors and friends alike. So we definitely have something special here.
We do.
So,
We do.
um, so there's always something that draws you into service because my guess is prior to '08, you didn't have the goal of being a councilwoman or going onto the state house. So like, what was that event or what you poured yourself into that made you take an interest in serving your community in multiple capacities?
Yeah, I think for me, like, when the kids were little, I was involved in everything. I was
Yeah.
the park mom. I was always team mom. I served on PTO. I would be room mom. My life revolved around, our family
Yeah.
and taking care of them and being present. And I'm thankful I was able to do that. But it also, I was heavily involved in the park. There was a time, long time ago, the parents ran our park system. It wasn't owned by the city. They didn't have a recreation department. It was literally community run. We had board for baseball and softball, and we did everything: cut the grass, paid the bill, like everything. And it got to where, as our community was growing, you really weren't able to fundraise enough to continue to improve what needed to happen to accommodate, the other kiddos coming in, and or just the growing families. And so the city took that over, which I think was the right step in the sense of, like, it wouldn't have been able to grow beyond where we were.
Right.
And so that was the next step for Park and Rec, and I think at that point that I stayed involved with the parks, and I was one of the few parents that was still, like, heavily involved with the parks at that time, and so I started seeing more of our government function, and it just there would be things that happened that I just caught myself frustrated by or complaining about, and I know there are people that do not like this answer, but it's the truth, and I'm just like a straight shooter. Um, I just remember complaining and the Lord finally saying, "If you're gonna complain about it, why don't you do something
Right.
about it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh." And so it was a pivotal moment of,
Right.
like, "Okay, I I guess we're gonna do this." And I I fell in love with this community long before I started serving her in a legislative capacity. But the level of love that I grew for her in that time period, and the responsibility and the burden that I felt to take care of her financially, which we can delve into that if you want to or not. But those are some really, really hard years,
Yeah.
when I first came in. But I ultimately, every time that I served a term, about a year out from that term, I would really start seeking the Lord again about should I run for city council again. I contemplated running for mayor. And when I did those things, I was doing that, just wrestling that out with the Lord. And every time it was just kind of stay where you are.
Right.
And that fourth term, which was we came in 2020, um, that was the one that I personally felt like, man, I think I might I might really be interested in running for mayor. And beforehand, it was more about what do you want from me, Lord? But there was a little bit of a desire in me that it had shifted. Um, and I prayed about it again, and it was just like the clearest no, stay put.
Hmm.
And so I did. And little did I know, it was because the Lord was gonna take me to the State House,
Right.
and I don't think I would have felt free to do that if I'd been the mayor, because now sitting in that role, it's a very different job.
Yes.
It's a full-time job, whereas your city council job is not full-time
I keep
work.
getting reminded that it's a
It
part-time
is a
job.
full-time job. I know on paper it's part-time, but I've watched every mayor. You're the 4th mayor I've either known or worked with in the city, and it has always been a full-time
Yeah,
job
there's no doubt.
despite its classification. Uh, but I genuinely feel called to service. Like, I feel like this is what God has me or has had me doing and has me doing.
Yeah.
And I know to some that will be cliche, but that's okay. It's the truth.
Right, right. Yeah, I think I kind of got interested. I'd thought about running for council in the late 20 teens, but it just wasn't right time with my kids. I don't know how you did it with young ones, but I had made up my mind to run for council and really working on the Old Town Live crew and being embedded and seeing a little bit more of what was going on in the city and being as close to the council people as I was and the mayor at the time, it just kind of opened my eyes to all the needs that we had.
Yep.
And I felt called to service, what I thought was called when I was going to run for council. But then when I made the decision, and I guess it was probably summer of 24, that I was going to run for mayor, that's when I really felt called. And I was like, when I started hitting the campaign trail and working it and getting out and meeting the people and really delving into what problems were facing our community,
Yep.
um, and beginning to formulate solutions for those problems,
Yep.
that's when I was like, okay, he's got me where he wants me to be, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But he didn't prepare me for how challenging it was going to be or how complex some of these problems are that need solutions. So
Well, that's why it's called walking by faith.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But it's been a challenge the last, I guess it's 8 months now,
Yeah.
but I feel like we've made a lot of good steps so far. And we're kind of really setting those foundational elements that we're going to need to get the city pointed in the right direction going forward. One of the things that I know it's, I think every administration has struggled with going back for a long time is you said budgetary. You talked about those lean years. I've heard stories from Chief Miller about, being told not to take the fire truck to go get food. Yeah, I mean, I think there's several employees that personally filled up the fire trucks at one point to make sure that they were serviceable. And we're nowhere near that right now, but we are still in very, very lean times.
We are. I mean, we've come a long way, and it's really funny. Like when I came into office, our budget was $5 million for the city.
Five.
That was our revenue was five. It was just slightly over $5 million, and I mean, like I think it was 5.1. Like it was not a lot of money. Um, and you had in 08, 09 the Great Recession,
Right.
and buddy, it was rough, and I distinctly remember, and I'll give some shout outs here. Finances were so tight. It was really very difficult and uncomfortable. And one of the things in coming into my second term, Chris Nelson, who was on the council with me in my first term, and then there, and she and I felt so strongly about like starting a reserve fund. Helena had never had any savings. We basically took in revenues and paid bills. And if we didn't have the money, we just had to borrow it and then pay it back and borrow it and pay it back. And there was a lot of that going on
Yeah.
in that first term. And it, I mean, she's got a strong finance background like yourself,
Right.
and
Chris is awesome.
she's fantastic, and she did a wonderful job during her tenure for the citizens of Helena. But our biggest thing, and thankfully, Mayor Hall at the time was very supportive of it, and so we spent. We started that in my second term at the beginning of that. And then through my third term, we really worked very hard to build that fund up. And we, had over $4 million in it, which I can't really remember, but I think about that time, maybe our budget was 10 or 11 million. I'd have to, go
Go
back
back.
and actually
Right.
look. But the idea is that you always have at least 10% in reserves.
And
And
y'all were somewhere between 30 and 40%.
we would hit when we hit 40, it became okay, we might be being irresponsible at this point, hoarding money out of
Right.
fear. But when you've walked through what we had walked through in that first term, you don't ever want to leave another administration in that boat.
Right. Right.
And that's the one thing I can say I'm ridiculously proud of and thankful for the whole council. But honestly, the buy-in from Mayor Hall and Chris in terms of I knew when I left office I had left it financially much better than I found
Right.
her. And then, we fast forward to where, you inherited her. And obviously that was a lot different. And it is what it is.
Right.
You just gotta you get what you get and you don't
Yeah.
pitch a fit and you just put your head down and you get to work.
Right.
And I think y'all, I mean, I've talked to all the council members numerous times, talked to you regularly. I still care very much about how the city is doing. And I'm really proud of the guy that like I'm proud of our council. I'm proud of you. I think you guys are really trying to do the hard work now so that you guys leave it better. I do see that and it makes me very comfortable and confident with where we are headed in our future.
And 100%. If we're not financially sound, then nothing else can be sound.
Correct.
The great thing about when I walked in, because I did not walk into a situation like you left it when you stepped out. Um, you, in the campaign season last year, there was a big emphasis on wasteful spending. And I don't know if it was as much wasteful spending as irresponsible debt in terms of with the bonds and then
Right.
that debt service. We
Right.
run so lean. I did an analysis when I
We
went
always have.
right. But I did an analysis when I delivered the State of the Communities to the chamber a couple months ago. And I've been trying to get this out there as much as I can. Alabaster, they've got a population of about 34,000. Their
Mhm.
revenue per resident
Yep.
is around 3,500.
Right.
Pelham's only about 1,000 residents larger than we are, and they're at like 3,200.
Mhm.
Calera and Chelsea are at like 1,800 and 2,200 per resident. Um, Helena's at $680 a resident. Like, to be able to provide everything we're providing
Yeah.
for the community at $680 is a testament to the great employees that we have.
Yep.
And the other thing, a lot of our when we were living flush, even though we weren't always flush from 2020 to 25, you know, there was a not entitlement's the wrong word, but department heads were used to still running lean, but maybe getting a little bit more in their budget. But I was so pleased with our leadership when I sat down and we went through the budget and we came up with a good, solid, realistic budget. Every department head took cuts and they said, we've got to take these in order to get the administrative and the finance side
Yeah.
solidified
Yeah.
so that we can be better off in 5 to 10 years. And that's what I keep telling everybody we're trying to do is we're trying to set the table now so that 5, 10, 15 years from now, Helena looks different in a much better positive way.
Right.
Um, and that's one of the big steps that we got is, Helena's never had a financial director. And I think I was a little overconfident that I could wear the mayor's hat and be a financial director. And I quickly realized I can't do both. There's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
So we recently hired a financial director that's got 28 years of municipal accounting experience or governmental accounting experience, and she's hit the ground running. And it's so nice to be able to say, hey, I need an analysis on this, that, or the other thing, and be
Right.
able to like the next day have something that makes sense. And we had great people in, but as Helena, and that's not a knock on anybody prior, but the skill sets like they didn't have a background in accounting. Didn't have the training in accounting, and we've gotten to a level that we really need that accounting background. And it's been very very welcoming addition to the staff.
Yeah, we've long had, in my opinion, employees that have worn so many hats, and it's because they're just like good people that
And
wanna
they love the city.
they wanna take care of the city.
Right.
Whether it was even well suited for them or not, it was like, "Our people need it, let's
I'm gonna
do
do it.
it."
Right.
And I mean, I've long been a proponent and advocated in my I think I started in this in my 3rd term of us having, separating out our treasurer and our clerk role.
We just did that.
Fabulous.
We just did
I
that.
love that. I think those 2 functions have to be separate because they report. One reports to the mayor's office, one reports to the council, and you don't want conflict of interest there. And it just puts people in positions I don't think they should have to be in.
I agree.
And it makes everything cleaner and it continues to honor that line in the balance of powers,
Right.
right? But also really feel or I have always felt strongly that we needed someone else to for like finance director or something. And I think too, like another thing has been as we've grown our our departments have grown in size,
Right.
but that's still honestly, we still run on a very small staffing number, and I'd love to see us get to a point where we can continue to help with those things, and I know that will come in time as well,
Absolutely.
and I'm sure y'all are already working towards those things, but
Well, and you
I
talk
applaud the financial director
I'm
and
applauding this.
splitting the clerk and treasurer.
Those were both good
Well done.
moves. Thank you. Thank you. And you touched on how many different hats the different individuals working for the city, and we've got a lot of people that love the city that have been with us for years.
Yeah.
But I don't think people understand like what goes on behind the scenes, and how much everybody picks up a bag of trash, or like we're doing some started renovations on the old city hall to turn it into a municipal public safety building. All of the demo work was done by senior leadership in the fire department and the police department. Like I walked in and Chief Wood and Captain Hudson are pulling insulation out of the ceiling wearing masks and 95 masks. And
That doesn't
I
surprise me a
but
bit.
I don't know if you'd follow you if you go to other communities, if you're gonna have your police and fire chief up there, pulling insulation and knocking down walls and doing what they need to do. And just to
I don't know
say
either, but
just
that
to
doesn't
save
surprise me.
just to save the city money. And our Parks and Rec director, Bill, I mean, he wears an IT hat and a Parks and Rec director hat, and Jason Poe's crew. I mean, he's got, I think, 7 or 8 guys, and they take care of all the right of ways and all of the roads in the city. I mean, everybody, they really bust their tail, and provide as much as they can, and they do it most of the time with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I feel like that's been, consistent the entire time I've
Yeah.
been involved with.
Well, there's no doubt finances are the biggest challenge that faces the city,
Yep,
but the greatest blessing we have is our employees. Because if
hands
I
down.
was walking into a situation from the financial side like I did, and then also had various HR issues and employees with not good attitudes and not a love of Helena, it, I don't know if it'd be bearable, to tell you the truth. I mean, having
Yeah.
their support and everybody knows where we're headed, and I think they believe in the path forward. We're making headway, no doubt. But it's not the shiny things right now. You know what I mean?
I do, and
Because
that's the hard part because that's
right,
what people like, they wanna see those
right,
things, and you wanna provide those things.
right,
That and like, the most frustrating thing, I think in service is when you want to do the things that they want, but there are not resources to
correct,
accommodate those
right,
things. That's very frustrating. But, you know, the a and it I think too, I mean, I'd say this at the state level. I do think sometimes we almost get too dependent on our government at all levels. And I'm a like, I am thankful for government, but I like its function to be very limited.
right,
I like for you to provide for my public safety. I want you to make sure that my infrastructure is good, right? And then I just want to have a good quality of life. And aside from that, I kind of want you out of my business,
right,
and I want to stay out of your business.
right.
But I think that's probably one of the most frustrating pieces, right? Is like infrastructure. We hear that all the time here. And I get it. I mean, it's driven me crazy since I've lived here. I've seen small changes. There have been some bigger changes. And hopefully going forward, the resourcing continues to be made available. And I think that's one thing I have seen out of you guys is just your ability to now granted, I've only been in my current job with 2 administrations and
Right.
3 years one and now almost a year with you guys. And I can tell you one thing that is very different is how much this particular group, and particularly your office, really does communicate with me in my job, in terms of trying to help you guys, and that has been very refreshing.
Yeah.
But also, I would say even watching or hearing stories from you or the council about, like partnership with the county and all,
Yes.
like that has been, y'all's approach to that has been so different. And I think it's been more fruitful.
One
Um,
1,000% it has been.
and I'm hoping that it only gets better with time. And I think it will.
I think the the county commission has been a great partner with us for the first part of this, or for my entire term so far, and it's just communication. It's they
Yeah.
want all of their communities to prosper,
Yep.
and they're sitting on resources that are available, and and we. Again, finances. We need those resources, and that's whether it's politics, municipal government, accounting, business, everything boils down to relationships and communication,
Absolutely.
and clear, honest communication. Sometimes even with the tough conversations.
Yeah.
And so I've got I think we were developing a great relationship with Chad Scroggins down at the county and Commissioner Bearden, and we value those. We value the relationship with you and the other legislative delegation. So those are all key parts. And when you're talking about infrastructure too, education's so important about infrastructure because
Yeah.
and how it actually works because the typical statement, and I saw it for the whole time I lived here: the roads are county or state roads, we can't do anything with them. And there's some truth to that. I mean, they are. But
There's
what it
truth to it.
really boils down to from my perspective is, for any road or infrastructure project that we're getting state or county dollars, there's a match that the city needs to put up, and it's generally 20 to 25%. And when I start talking to people and they're talking about, widening this road or whatever the infrastructure project is, okay, well, if that's a $20 million project, which it's not hard to get to 20 million on an infrastructure project.
No.
So you're telling me we've got to put up 4 million. Well, we don't have $4 million right now to be able to put up. But that's why all these steps that we're putting in place for the next 5, 10, 15 years are going to be important so that
Yeah.
we can begin to get those matches and we can begin to really take on some of these larger projects.
Yeah, and I think too, like even and you learn like the more you do a job, you
Of
obviously
course.
learn more, and the same for me. And it's been an interesting thing, even learning how certain things that came long before I got to the state legislature. When you look at infrastructure and how that works, and of course a lot of that runs through the executive branch as well through ALDOT. And but all of it does. It has like it has legislative requirements that were set at those times that require those matching funds. And so that makes that more complicated because I may be able to bring something somewhere, but I can't get that match. And that is a really frustrating place. And
Yeah.
we've been there. I mean, there were things that we couldn't do because we could not provide the matching funds for those things.
Right.
Now, these would have been like earlier on when we were even like, okay, this one is the bypass, which is not it's not even a thing anymore.
Yeah,
And
let's clear the air on that because
let's
there's people that are saying the bypass is coming.
yeah,
The
the
bypass.
bypass has been kicked off the list. Regional Planning Commission has like their short-term list, their midterm. They have a 50-year plan.
That's
We're not on the 50-year
Well,
plan.
actually, the
Did we get back on
bypass
it?
is on the visionary. They
The
call it
the
visionary.
visionary.
It sounds better than 50 years,
Okay.
but yes.
Okay, so we got
Yeah,
put back on the visionary, which let's call it what it used to be called, the 50-year
the
plan.
50-year plan.
So essentially that means that project's dead,
Right.
right? But if you go back to that time, that was one of the things that Sonny Penhale had fought very, very hard for federal funding and was awarded the money. We
The
were
project was getting off the ground.
we were awarded the money, we'd had the studies, and then came time for match.
Yep.
And your match. I mean,
I think it
that
was $2.5 million, which you're saying your
our
budget
budget
that
at the
was
time was
5.
5.
Right.
We were, and remember, we were borrowing money, paying it back, and that was a monthly occurrence.
Right.
So we didn't have the money, and that project eventually went somewhere else
Yep.
because we could not have that match. And that's one of the things again that I loved about what Chris Nelson and I were working towards was just having those funds available. So when a project did finally, like, we finally could get approved for one, like $2 million sitting right there in our reserve fund, we got it.
Yeah.
And then gone again.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And
um,
coming up with those matches, I'm fine with the municipality or a business having responsible debt. Like if you need to take out a bond to help with the match
for sure.
for the right projects, the issue is we are leveraged. So even if they came to the city and they said we're ready to widen 52 from Shadescrest to Hillsborough Parkway, I couldn't go and get a bond right now to cover our match and spread it out over 15 to 30 years, just because of the debt we're already carrying. So,
Yeah.
but those are all issues that can be worked through. But we've got
Yeah.
to have a long term plan. Like one of the things that I was shocked that I had. I'm not going to say we've never had it. The folks I spoke to at City Hall said they haven't seen one. Was a 5 and 10 year capital projects plan. Like what's coming down the pipe, so we can begin to prepare for those. But I just this morning had a meeting with Blair Perry, who's awesome,
He's great.
and our financial director Patty about okay, in this budget season, for the first time, I want to have a capital projects budget that shows what our capital outlay is going to be. Um, because that's key. You got to know where you're going in 10 years and begin to try to start to build for it now
Yeah.
instead of scrambling, which is kind of what we've been doing is just scrambling and come up with the funds.
Right. Well, it's the same thing as your personal household, right? Like
Right.
you plan for the unknown and you plan for improvement. You,
Right.
you want to grow it. You want to make it better than it was
Right.
when you got it,
Right.
and you want it to last. And it sounds very much so like that's what you guys are working towards. And
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing for Helena. And I'm confident that in time, as our revenues get better, those things are going to continue to materialize. But
Absolutely.
I love, like, one of the things that y'all have done in partnership with the county recently is the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like, we had worked on that and worked on that and worked on that in prior administrations and just never could. We couldn't get the collaboration that was needed. We couldn't get the funding that, like, we couldn't get. But that is one thing that I've seen that has been done very well, like with that particular project, is just the collaboration, the partnering with other business in the community, the
Vulcan
county.
donated
Yes.
all the gravel.
And
Yeah.
and voila,
Yeah.
like plan.
55 spots.
Yeah, part like action, something
Yeah.
delivered. And I'm looking forward to just what y'all have in the future for us.
There's more of those the things that can be seen by the community, going through all of the different. I mean, I think we got like 25 different checking accounts from all the restricted accounts that we've got, is going through and saying, okay, what is this money tied up? What is this restricted for? And we've got some money that can't be used for day-to-day operations, but that we've got a pretty good balance that we might be able to roll out in the next 6 months, some improvements, small improvement, infrastructure improvements, some repaving some roads, some investment into our parks beyond the
Yeah.
the new Parks and Rec or the new sports complex that we've got the bond for, which we're working on. So there's a lot of exciting things coming. We had to spend our time on the not shiny items, like getting a handbook and a new CSA, which by the way, thank you for your help getting
You're
that through
welcome.
in record time. I mean, I think from start to finish, we started drafting the CSA about November 5th, about 2 days after I got in, and had it to y'all, and you guys pushed it through the session. What, March it got through?
I don't know. It stressed me out because it was so important. So I was
Yeah.
like, just every day, I'm
Yeah.
like, how are we? When are we moving it? We got to go.
Yeah.
We got to have this on the
Yeah.
calendar. Like, I
Yeah.
can't not deliver this, because when
Yeah.
I don't know that everyone would know this, but like when we pass laws that are specific to like our counties that we serve in or the cities that we work for, they're called local laws and they run just through our local delegation and state. And we only vote as a delegation on those things, but they still have to have a vote on the
Right.
floor, which usually like there are 7 Shelby County delegation members. So only 7 of the members in the House of the 105 of them would have voted on it,
Right.
but it still has to have its same legislative process. And so it can be lengthy. And then you get a kind of panicked because if you don't finish it, you have to advertise local laws, which means that that county or that municipality has put money on the table. It's
$35,000.
the biggest one I've ever had.
Yeah.
Usually they're like 3 or
Yeah.
$5,000, and you're like, "I have to do this." Like, my city spent $35,000 to get this updated because we need this, and you're
Yeah.
just like, but hey, grace of God, we got
We
it
got it through.
across. It's
A few
done.
bumps, but
Yeah.
we weathered them. So,
Yep.
well, you and I also go way back.
Way back. So long. I actually
So
go back further with your wife.
you do. So you went to high school with Allie.
I not only went to high school with Allie, I went K through 12 with Allie. So I
Uh,
grew up with your wife completely. Then we
okay.
went to college at Auburn together, War Eagle. I'm
Now y'all
sure I'll
played
get some
you
hate mail for
you
that
and
later.
you and Allie played softball together?
Oh, yes. So Allie is I'm just gonna say, let me call her the first lady. So I'd like to
Oh,
tell this
okay. So
story
you're
about
gonna
calling
get a
her the
text
first
message when
lady.
this goes live.
She's gonna harass me later
Yes,
about
she
this.
is.
But the first lady of Helena, for those that don't know, stud of an athlete. Okay. She was a fantastic, actually, she was a great cheerleader, but she was a fantastic softball player.
Yeah.
And I played with Allie. I was good. We'll leave it at that. I was good. I was not fantastic. But Allie, in a particular game, she was concerned I might not execute, which was fair. And so a pop fly is hit, and I'm like, I got it. I got it. Next thing you know, I wake up on the ground. She has come over and like clocked me with her elbow. She broke my nose and knocked me unconscious.
Yeah.
I've been dying to tell all of
Well,
Helena
you
this
have told
story.
all of Helena that
I've
story,
told
just not on
almost all of
a
Helena.
meet. Now it's gonna get out to more, but I think
Listen,
I've heard that
the
story
first
a
lady of
bunch.
Helena does not like for me to tell that story, but the truth is the truth, and
It
it will
is.
set you
It
free.
is. And what's funny, so y'all went to grammar all the way through 12th or through senior year at Pelham, right?
Yep.
And then as a sophomore, I had just met Allie the summer before my sophomore year, and I had a government class with Dennis,
Yep.
and we would study together. And you guys had already started your family, so
Yep.
his view on college was a lot different than single Billy who's just dating Allie at the time. And I probably could have learned a few study habits from him at that point. I think he did much better than I did. And I left Auburn right after that term. And then Allie and I started our family and got married. And, I had one class with Dennis and lost touch. And I think it was at the Ling's house because your kids played with their
Yeah,
kids.
it was.
And Allie and I are coming up the back deck for a barbecue one afternoon. And Allie yells, Leigh. And I was like, Dennis. And I guess ever since then we've kind of been
We've
back
just been
hanging
good
out
friends.
very yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a small world, and those connections that you make, they keep coming back up throughout your life. And I don't know, we very much value y'all's friendship, and
Well,
it's a good
same.
time. We need to do some more of our stunts in the park that we did that one day with the
I
tricks.
recently sent you one. I
Yeah,
sent you like a 2.0
the
version that we could
2.0.
do.
What was that? We didn't
I
we throw a flip
we
flop
were
up and spun
we no,
around?
we held our shoe above our head, looked up at it, spun, and then you had to throw the shoe,
And then
and you
go
had to go get your shoe.
dizzy.
You
Dizzy.
couldn't stand up
I may
because
see
you're
if I can
dizzy, and we would
find
fall
some of
down.
those one of those videos, and see if they can splice it in to this
I've still got it
podcast.
somewhere.
Do
I
you?
know I do. I know I do.
We'll have to, if we could find one and put it in there for visual effect, I think that might be fun.
Yeah,
So,
it may make people rethink about us.
well, they probably already are, Lee.
We're kind of silly though.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I think that's probably some of my favorite thing. Like Helena, like I said, I love her and she's so great. But we just people want to have a great time.
They do.
They want to enjoy their life. They want to cut up with their friends. They want to have places to go do things. And that's another thing that I feel like has changed. Like the amphitheater, we've always had like since I can remember, we've always had Buck Creek Festival, but like even Old Town Live and the market, those things like market, I think came on maybe my second term or something. And Chris Nelson actually started that.
The
And
farmers market.
she did. She started
Yeah.
the farmers market, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I am. Um, but like just we've done fly fishing things down there. We do the Oktoberfest, the
Right.
little weenie dog
Murder dogs
races.
races.
Like that poor dog, God bless its heart, that got all the way to the line and then stopped and turned around, and it was like this far from
Was
winning.
that this year?
I think it was the first year,
Okay.
or maybe was last year the first year of that,
Last year
or is
was
that
year 2.
the second year? So it
Yeah.
was either year one or two. But like I just love those things, and
Yeah.
I love to get out and just enjoy. Like I love to enjoy people. I love getting out and having fun, not taking life too. There are so many things that I do that are serious,
Right.
and they're very important things, and they matter tremendously to me. But I love the opportunities to just get out and have a good time, be silly, like
And that
not forget like who you are.
right. And that's, Old Town Live, short of my family, my faith, and my current position, there's nothing I'm more proud of than what Old Town Live has become. And I of course I enjoy it when it's a band that I'm interested in that I get to meet and hang out with, but it's almost just as enjoyable when it's someone that I may not be that into, but watching other people and that's their band, and have a
Yeah.
good time and looking out and seeing, okay, we've got 3, 4,000 people down here
Yep.
and they're down here having a blast,
Yeah.
enjoying time with their friends and family, and they're doing it. They're able to do it because of a great board that volunteered and sacrificed their
Yeah.
time. And Helena's been built on those groups. You mentioned Chris Nelson and that whole group with like Major and Bob and
Jack.
Jack and Stephanie Gray
Yeah.
and those ones that went before us. And I think that they picked it up for the first Friday for a while, and then that died out. And that's what that volunteer base, because the city doesn't have a lot of money and doesn't have a lot of resources to get things off the table and actually come to fruition. You've got to have those groups, and then when the groups get tired, though, we've got to be able to replenish them, and that's the thing with Old Town Live. I'm hoping we come up
It
with a
is.
succession plan.
Well, I think that like this is a fun thing to kind of even like talk about history of Helena. And when I came into leadership here, I was the youngest person. I was the only one with kids that were young. Like they had children, but their children were grown.
Right.
And mine were like, I mean, I think RK was 4,
I
maybe.
don't know how you did
She's
it.
22 now.
Yeah.
So um I I I was the youngest person. I was the only one with little kiddos, and that shifted a lot. Like we've had a lot more people come in, and we do today
Right.
with families. Like our council looks more like our demographic from like young to
Yeah.
our aging population. But the thing that we had back then, we had this incredible core group of volunteers.
Hmm.
We called them at the time Old Helena. I think we might be Old Helena now, and I don't know what they are. I'm sorry, guys. I still love y'all.
They are still old to
But
They get together at the caboose
they are.
all the
It's the
time.
caboose group,
Yeah.
but it was Jack, it was Stephanie, it was
Right.
Henry Neff. You had Bob,
Tom LaFave.
Tom Lefebvre. You
And
had
I know
Bob
we're gonna miss
Van.
somebody. I know we're gonna miss somebody,
We
but
will, but here's where there was a little transitional piece of that where it was Hal and I. And that group really welcomed Hal and I in. And I think Hal has done an excellent job of like continuing that part of it
100%.
and recruiting and trying to build those things up. And like he and I both, my first time on the committee for Buck Creek Festival, I did it for a few years. I did like the volunteers, which basically meant we picked up all the trash on the day of and hauled it everywhere. And I'll never forget the first year we did it, like Hal and I picked up a trash bag, and I mean, it just busted all over us. And
Ugh.
I mean, like there was all this like it was nasty.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the most fun. To this day,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite Buck Creek festivals.
Yeah.
And but I have seen, that's something else I've seen change, is I've seen the shift of you still have a lot of those people really involved that
100%.
I've already named, but
Right.
now you also have like that newer group that's come in and really picked up, and they've done a great job too. And Brian Hayes and Joanna, you got, don't let me miss somebody because I'm sure I will, but like John Barnes, like I know I'm
Jeremy
missing people.
Allen,
Jeremy Allen,
Jake
thank you.
Rasmussen.
Jake
I mean,
Rasmussen, like there's
hot board and
so many.
yeah.
And
But
even
not just the hot board, the beautification board,
you got
the
so much,
historical preservation society.
which
I
looks
mean,
very different than it did years ago.
100%.
I'm loving seeing I'm seeing us transition,
Yeah.
and it's really a beautiful thing to
I
see.
agree. And I think it has a lot to do with the time you are in your life because when that group started Buck Creek, they were probably in their early to mid 40s. Their kids were getting a little older. That time was becoming available. And you see, like the folks that ended up on the hot board, it's kind of similar position for most of them.
Yep.
Their kids are a little older. They have a little bit more free time. So, no, we've got great things coming. But I'm so glad you were going to be my first guest. I've
I'm
enjoyed
honored
this.
to do
And I
that.
think we definitely probably, you're going to come back.
I'll come
So,
back. I would
okay.
love that. I would
Good
love that.
deal. Well, thank you all for watching. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we'll have more of these coming at you. Thank y'all.